can start? Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Lorraine Herger, and welcome to the IEEE Women in Services Computing Symposium. I'm very excited to be here today. It's been a long journey for all of us to get here. And I would also like to mention that this is the first time that the WISC, the WISC, is actually a symposium. We have a great schedule, a lot of really interesting speakers, a panel, and talks. So I'm just going to go through some of that before I turn it over to some of my colleagues for some other introductory remarks. For those of you who had a little trouble joining, I know that there was some questions about how to join. It's very clear now, I think if you go to the website or you got our email, you should be able to share with other colleagues who might want to join later for this session or again on Wednesday. Anybody who wants to join, you can send us an email and we'll make sure you have the link to join as a participant. So again, welcome to everyone. First, I would like to thank the IEEE Services 2020 Steering Committee for their support and for all of the extremely hard work that they did to make this a virtual conference, bringing people together from around the world. I think for all of us, there were times when we thought that maybe this wouldn't happen this year. But it has come to fruition, and here we are on this day to start our journey virtually from around the world. We have people from all around the world, and we're very pleased to have everyone here. On the screen, you can see the committee organizers that joined myself. I'm the general chair for this session, to make this a reality. And I'm very grateful to all of them. Many calls and many times we've gotten together to try and work through the details. So very grateful to everyone who assisted as well. So before I go on, I'd also like to mention that myself, Rong Chang, and Kautar El-Magraoui, we're actually at the IBM Research Center in Yorktown Heights, New York, in the auditorium that we have here. And that's, what you're seeing behind me is this great auditorium we have at IBM Research. So unfortunately, there's only a couple of us here. But hopefully, for those of you who are listening and watching, perhaps someday you'll be able to visit us here again when everything goes back to normal. But I'm also grateful to the staff here at Watson who are working very closely with us, the AV staff, and have worked with us over the last week or so to make this a reality. So thank you, Jamal and John in particular. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going over the agenda for the entire conference. And because we were going to have it all in one day, but then because of other sessions that will be coming up during that time, we split it into 2 days. But I think in the final analysis, that's probably a good thing, because that way you can really stay engaged for 3 hours today and then for 2 hours on Wednesday. And, we won't lose anyone's attention is what I was thinking. I know myself, I've experienced that Zoom / WebEx / whatever virtual platform you're using kind of fatigue. So I think having it a little shorter will help people not only attend, but also, be able to attend and really dedicate the time to listen in. So the first session today is some remarks which I'm making, and then in a few minutes I'm going to turn it over to some of my colleagues. Also today we will have Symposium Session 2. So if you look at the agenda, you'll see it says WISC 1, 2, 3, which are all today. And then on Wednesday, in the same time slot, but it's only 2 hours, you'll see sessions 4 and 5. So once we wrap up with our remarks, then I will be turning it over to my colleagues, Vijay Desai and Gargi Dasgupta. Gargi will be giving one of our distinguished talks, and Vijay will be leading that session. And then for the third hour today, we have a great group of people who are going to present in a panel addressing a lot of questions that are both technical and about life in general and how things have been going, say, over the past year, but also addressing the questions of what does it really mean to be a woman in technology today, and how do you get there? How do you get to be a leader? How do you get to be the person who maybe stands up, has the ideas, and is able to present them in a way? And that session will be chaired by our colleague, Kautar El-Magraoui. So then on Wednesday, as I mentioned, we have a 2-hour session. That'll be WISC or WISC 4 and WISC 5. And that will only be 2 hours. So that's a good session there where you can listen to some really good talks. The first talk will be by Wei Liu, who is the founder and CEO of K2 Data. And she will talk about digital transformation. And that session will be chaired by Kautar as well. And then our final session will be a set of lightning talks by 4 speakers that have chosen a topic of their choice. If you looked at the registration for this session, you saw that there were probably about a dozen or more topics. And these are not necessarily all technical topics. They're, again, addressing how things like work-life balance and how people got to where they are today and things of that nature, which I think are always very interesting. You know, when you see somebody standing up and talking, you're like, well, how did that person get there? And what do I have to do to get there? And I think along the way, you need other people's assistance, you need their advice, you need their help to understand, you know, what do you need to do on your career journey, and what are, I mean, it's not all ups, it's also downs. So what are the ups and downs along the way, and how do you overcome the parts of your career? How do you keep going when things get difficult? So that, I think, is very interesting. And that session will be chaired by our colleague, Mari Abe. So that's it for the introduction of the conference, of the symposium, sorry. And again, I want to welcome everyone. I hope that you're able to stay for the entire 2 days for both of these sessions. So now what I'd like to do is, let me see if I can go back here, is I am going to turn it over to my colleague Rong Chang, who is here today with me. Rong, I'm sure many of you know Rong. He's been involved in the Services Computing Conference for many years. And this year he is the Technical Computing Services Committee Chair. Did I get that right? Okay, so I am going to now step away, put my mask back on, which we have to do, and turn it over to Ron. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Okay, I'm Ron Chen, the chairperson of IEEE Computer Society's Technical Committee on Services Computing, or TCSVC. Okay, it's really my honor to be here with all of you as the TCSVC chair. I welcome everybody to the inaugural IEEE Symposium on Women in Services Computing. Now, this symposium is sponsored jointly by IEEE TCSVC, IEEE Services Congress, and the China Computer Federation's Technical Committee on Services Computing. Special thanks go to the organizing committee led by Lauren, okay, for their dedication to make this event useful and inspiring for women professionals. We hope you enjoy participating in this event and look forward to your contributions to growing this international WISC community. Thank you for your attention.
I'm back. So thank you, Ron, for that introduction. And now I am going to turn it over to Jia Zhang, who will talk a little bit about, again, about reflections on WISC and on women in services computing. Jia has been a longtime contributor and leader to the services conference and has been very dedicated to sharing both this kind of technical forum where women can get together and also mentoring, etc. So I'd like to turn this over now to Jia.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. How many minutes do I have? Okay. Good morning, everyone. So as Lorraine suggested, I'm going to give some reflection about this history of IEEE Services Congress and our WISC, especially for the newcomers to join our Women in Services Computing community. So a little bit history about the IEEE services. As you already know, the WISC Symposium now is part of the IEEE Congress, World Congress on Services Computing. The whole thing actually started back in 2013, 18 years ago, when the IEEE Technical Committee on Services Computing was founded under IEEE Computer Society. So the purpose of the TCSVC, where Dr. Rong Qian from IBM TJ Watson Research is the chair now, the purpose is to advance and coordinate the work in the field of services computing carried out in IEEE in scientific, engineering, standard, literacy, and education areas. So then the IEEE TCSVC sponsored the IEEE World Congress on Services, short for services, which is an umbrella of supporting a collection of flagship IEEE conferences in the field of services computing, including IEEE International Conference on Web Services, IEEE International Conference on Services Computing, IEEE International Conference on Cloud Computing, IEEE International Conference on Smart Data Services, and IEEE International Conference on Edge Computing. So this diagram illustrates a background and the history of the evolution of the IEEE Services Congress. As you can see here, in 2004, ICWS was first held in San Diego, and IEEE SCC was first held in Shanghai, China. And in 2005, ICWS and SCC jointly held in Florida. And 2006, they joined again in Chicago. In 2007, this is the first time the IEEE World Congress on Services, the IEEE Services was formed as an umbrella to cover and host the related conferences. And 2008, 9, 2010, this is the first time the IEEE Cloud Computing Conference was brought to life. And in 2012, the IEEE International Conference on Services Economics was introduced and evolved into the IEEE International Congress on Big Data. And also IEEE International Conference on Mobile Services was introduced at that time. And all the way to 2017, the IEEE, the more conferences are introduced, especially the IEEE International Conference on Edge Computing was introduced, and ICILT and ICC International Conference on Cognitive Computing was introduced. And all the time, you can see that more conferences are introduced based on the advancement of the techniques in the field of services computing. And back in 2020, then some of the conferences are consolidated. So now we have 5 conferences co-located together this year. So then the IEEE Symposium on Women in Services Computing has been part of the events inside of IEEE Services Congress. Let me briefly talk about the history of the WISC. So it's everything back in 2017, 3 years ago. So after a couple of emails back and forth in a meeting on May the 1st, 2017, Professor Bhavani Singham and me, at that time I was with Carnegie Mellon University. So we had a meeting on May the 1st, 2017, and we reviewed a couple of referenced events, including the Women in Cybersecurity in UT Dallas, 2016, and also Women in Data Science and Engineering workshop, which was successfully held in International Conference on Data Engineering 2017. So by reviewing those very successful events involving women in technologies, so we believe that it will be great. Why not? We have a Women in Services Computing workshop. So right after the meeting, Bhavani and I submitted a proposal to the steering committee on IEEE Services Congress. And that's when the IEEE Women in Services Computing workshop was born as part of the events of IEEE Services 2017. So then in a very short time period, we got many women researchers, engineers work together. So we had successfully our first IEEE WISC workshop in part of the IEEE 2017 Services Congress. The WISC was, the workshop was held on June 26, 2017 in Honolulu, Hawaii. Then we had, because we came in very late, so then the event was held as an evening session. And then this is the agenda of the what we happened in the workshop. So the founding chairs, Bhavani and I, we gave the welcome remarks. And then Bhavani gave a motivation address to introduce her career to the community, and also to motivate the women engineers and researchers in the field. And then we invited 3 very distinguished women researchers in the field to give a keynote speech. Professor Elisa Bertino from Purdue University, Professor Vivian Liu from Georgia Tech, and Professor Ilke Altinas from University of California, San Diego. And then we had very successful and very fruitful discussions about how we want to proceed with our event to promote this event and attract and advocate more women researchers, engineers, and students to join the event. And then we extend the discussion into a group dinner. So this is the group picture after our the WISC workshop. So you can see that for the first time in a very short time period, we gathered about like 40-ish the women researchers and engineers and students. So we had a very good discussion that day. Then with the success of our first WISC workshop, then we continue to held our the second actually WISC workshop as part of the 2018 actually Services Congress. The workshop this time we had more time to prepare. Therefore, we held it in the morning session. So then the workshop was held on July the 2nd, 2018 in San Francisco. So the event was arranged in 3 sessions. In the session 1, we had the opening keynote from Bhavani. And then in 2018, we held a collection of TED speeches. Those, we all know TED speeches. So no slides, but a collection of women researchers, engineers, and also some students. So they just like from their memory, but definitely with a very good preparation and rehearsal, they give very exciting TED Talks. So that's the first session. And then in the session 2, we held a panel to discuss about the research, some of the emerging research topics and their work. And then we divide the participants into 3 focused groups, discussing on either research-oriented topics or how to share the experience with the career for women researchers in the field. And also the third group, focused group, talk about the experience sharing and mentoring. So, and then afterwards, 3 groups gave the report at the workshop. And after that, the discussion was extended into a group lunch. So this is the group picture after the workshop in 2018. So with after the 2 successful workshops, we get into the third workshop in 2019 as part of the Congress in Milan, Italy. The event was held on July 8th, 2019. So first, Professor Yanchun Song from Peking University gave a welcome remark. And in 2019, there was a very exciting activity for our WISC. The community is that under the the very hard work from Dr. Rong Qian as the TCSVC chair. Dr. Rong Qian helped to form the Women in Services Computing committee, the group underneath the TCSVC, and Professor Yan Chen Sun became the chair of the WISC under TCSVC. So also for the first time, TCSVC sponsored the award for the first time for the our Women in Services Computing workshop. Afterwards, Professor Elena Ferrari from University of Insubria gave the keynote. And after that, we arranged a collection of invited presentations from Professor Elisa Bertino, Professor Barbara Caminati, and Professor Bhavani could not join physically in that year, but she sent in the video talks. After that, we had this time we arranged a collection of short presentations. The presenter provides like 5 minutes of talk on various kinds of topics, research, or their personal career, or their mentoring experience, etc. And then afterwards, the discussions went into a group lunch. So since I was assigned as a moderator, switched my role from an invited speaker into a moderator. So we didn't get enough time to prepare for a group meeting, group picture. So you didn't see the picture for our third workshop. So as Lorraine said, this year it's very exciting. After 3 successful hosting of the Women in Services Computing workshops, this year it is the first time for our workshop to be further promoted into a symposium as part of the IEEE Services Congress this year. And specifically, under the leadership of Dr. Rong Qian, so there was specifically a steering committee formed to support our WISC symposium, including Professor Carl Chen from Iowa State University, who is also the chair of the steering committee of the IEEE Services Congress, Dr. Lauren Herger from IBM Research, who is also the general chair for this year's symposium, and Professor Xiaofei Xu from Harbin Institute of Technology. And as Lorraine said, a group of the program chairs had numerous meetings throughout the year, and we can see now the Symposium of Women in Services Computing this year has a very profound and very exciting the agenda and the programs. So as everyone else, I'm very excited to join these 2-day events of the symposium this year. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Jia, for that really nice introduction to our work here, both from the workshop and the symposium. It's really nice to get this historical perspective on all the people that have contributed to this event over the years, and also the impact that it's had. So now it is my pleasure to introduce the winner of the IEEE Women in Services Computing Award. This award has been given for several years, and the purpose of the award is to recognize each year 1, sometimes 2 women who have made significant contributions to services computing and whose accomplishments are well known in the industry. But along with their technical accomplishments, we also consider for this award what each of them has done personally to contribute to the community. And this is the community in a very large sense, so it would be contributions perhaps to university students who you've mentored, to colleagues at work possibly that you've been mentoring, to other women. It could be your involvement in STEM activities in your own community. For instance, with primary school students or what we call high school students in the United States, say in the teenage years. And it can also mean your contributions to women's organizations. So for instance, there's the Society of Women Engineers, which I've been involved in personally for many, many years and done a lot of work with. Or there's the Women in Engineering, there's Grace Hopper Conference and the Anita Borg symposiums that people are part of, and you know, the list goes on and on. So when we do give the award, we also look at technical work, but if you've looked at the criteria for the award, you'll also see that that isn't the only thing that we're considering here. So I did want to make that clear, and I also think that if someone is interested next year in submitting an application for the award, and you would like some help on how to formulate your submission and what's important, or even sometimes I think it's key to say, I'd like to win this award maybe in the next 4 or 5 years, what do I need to do to make that happen? So that's something you can always look on the website, and you can contact me or one of the other organizers of the symposium, or even Wrong, for instance, or Ja, and get some feedback on, you know, what does it take to get that award. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Dr. Wei Liu, who's also known as Vivian Liu. So Vivian, congratulations on being the winner of the award this year. We're very proud and happy to have you as part of this symposium and to give you this award. So just a few sentences on Vivian, because she will be speaking also on Wednesday and giving an in-depth talk, as I showed earlier in the agenda. So Vivian at this time is the CEO and founder of K2 Data. So K2 Data is a technology company which focuses on big data and AI to help industrial companies. So those of us who work in this area, in these fields, know that this is a very competitive and a key area for all companies today. And so this is not an easy, I would say, not an easy space or business to be in. So Vivian deserves a lot of credit for going out on her own and becoming an entrepreneur and starting this company. So customers of K2 Data include industrial companies in China, such as Goldwind, State Grid, PetroChina, etc. And also, K2 Data was named the technology pioneer by the World Economy Forum in 2020. So before founding K2 Data, we are also proud to say that Vivian was a member of IBM Research, no small surprise there, and a distinguished engineer. And then she took the leap to go out on her own and start this company. So again, congratulations to Vivian. And now I'd like to introduce her to say a few words to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm very happy to join the symposium this year. It's also my great honor to receive the Women in Services Computing Award this year. As Lauren introduced, I'm currently the founder and the CEO of K2 Data. Before that, I was a researcher working for IBM Research. So as Lauren mentioned, so K2 Data is a technology startup I founded in the end of year 2014. It provides big data and AI technology services to leading industry companies in China. Industries served by K2 Data include energy and utilities, oil and gas, electronics, environmental protection, heavily machinery manufacturing, etc. K2 Data is recognized as a leading technology company in industry big data and AI, aiming to drive the digital transformation of manufacturing. I like to give two typical use cases K2 Data did, so audience in this symposium can have a better understanding of what we're doing as industry big data and AI. So it's more like a technology term, and what are the value, what are the problem, what we solve with the industry companies. I like to use those two typical use cases to let the audience know that. So first one is what we did. We together with Amazon Web Services. We worked with Goldwind. Goldwind is the largest wind turbine manufacturer in China. It's the third largest worldwide. So we work with Goldwind on accelerating the data-driven design process of wind turbines by about 1,000 times, so as to enable personalized design of each wind turbine in a wind farm, instead of just one design for all. So this is driven by the shift of the wind farm industry, where the farm operators they like to have a better ROI of the wind farm. So they like to have a more precise and personalized design of each of the wind turbines, instead of just one design for all the wind turbines in the farm. So to do this, that also poses a lot of technical challenge to the wind turbine designers, as that cause a lot of computation challenge, and also we need to totally redesign the design process with the wind turbine, the manufacturer, and also with all the component providers for it, so as they can work on a shared data platform, and to streamline all the design process through the support of the cloud computing and big data technology, so we can improve the overall design efficiency by 1,000 times, so as to enable the personalized design. So this through this, and this improves the return on investment of wind farms, and can save thousands of tons of steel each year. So this use case was selected as it's one of the use cases shown on Amazon Web Service Global Conference, and in that year, that's the only showcase from China that's selected by the conference. The second one is what we did with Penn Steel. The Penn Steel is a steel manufacturer who provides about over 50% of high-speed rails in China. And we built a data-driven production quality assurance system. As you know that since the high-speed train, it runs very fast, and also we want the people on the train and to feel feel the train that move very smoothly. So there's a very high requirement on the quality of the rails, and for the rail that of like 100 meters long, and the error of the size should be less than 1 millimeter. So that's very challenging. By using we help them to build a data-driven production quality assurance system by using data mining technology, and we build a correlation model to analyze the impact of the production process control parameters on the final product quality. So the system can recommend optimized control parameters for each production batch of different product type. So before there's such kind of system, all the parameters are settled by the workers, and it's highly depends on personal experience, and it's very unstable. If there's a problem with the quality, and it also costs a lot of time for them to find the root cause of what happened, and what caused the problem, and how to solve that. So then after we have this data-driven this parameter recommendation system, and it saves a lot of time for them to spend on setting the parameter, optimizing the parameter, and also improve the product quality a lot. And this one was also awarded by the Ministry of Industrial and Information Technology of China as one of the top big data use cases in industry internet last year. And also this year, earlier this year, K2 Data was selected by the World Economy Forum as technical pioneer, together with other 4 tech startups from United States and Europe. So 2 days later, in the 4th session of this symposium, I will give a speech on digital transformation of industry companies in China, in which I will give more details on what K2 Data is doing. So for audience who is interested in know more in this topic, and you are more than welcome to join that part of the session. Before founding K2 Data in 2014, I was a researcher working for IBM in the area of distributed computing and data management. I was once the technical leader for IBM's Cognitive Internet of Things Research Big Bet. In this role, I worked with teams from 5 IBM research labs in US, Israel, Japan, India, and China to define research roadmap, develop enabling technology on managing and analyzing data from connected physical assets and devices. And we also conducted customer pilots in multiple countries to prove market requirements and technology and market fit. So finally, Internet of Things was accepted as an IBM Global Strategic Initiative. That's about my career. Then let me talk a little bit about what I did in some of the community work. In my spare time, I love to participate in social activities related with women and children, especially those related with encouraging girls to learn science and technology, and women working on technology. I myself is a member of the Society of Women Engineers. It's a global consortium in promoting women working on science and technology. I am personally a donator of One Village School. It's a charitable organization supporting children of low-income families in remote villages to go to school. Also, my company is a key member of another charity program helping tea leaf farmers to make and sell their products, and we use the income from the tea leaf trading to support the schools in the farmers' villages. I personally is also a part-time tutor of Xi'an Jiaotong University in Liverpool. It's a collaborative between Xi'an Jiaotong University and Liverpool University, every year I mentor about 4 to 5 students. Those are many female students majoring in computing technology. I also keep a very close collaboration with the university, I'm currently also a part-time researcher working with Tsinghua University in the area of industrial big data. That's about my brief self-introduction. So again, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude for the recognition from the IEEE services community for giving this award to me. And I'm glad to meet virtually so many outstanding women working on services computing. And I wish this Women in Service Computing Symposium a very successful one this year.
Okay, so thank you very much, Vivian, for that very interesting talk. And again, congratulations on winning the Services Computing, Women in Services Computing Award this year. And we'll welcome you back to the main stage on Wednesday when you give your talk. So thanks again. Now, we are a little bit ahead of schedule, about I think we could take some questions if anyone has any questions or would like to make any comments before I turn it over to Gargi to give her talk. I don't know if there's any questions or if anybody would like to make a comment, please feel free. Rong, did you see anything in the chat? Oh, I can't. Actually, that's just a general question. So Vijay and Gargi are actually in India. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a very short break, and then we'll come back in about 10 minutes, and we'll start up again. We wanted to have the full hour, just so you know, because we are doing this for the first time live with all of this complicated technology and different systems. So, you know, you always want to allot a little bit of extra time. But of course, if you do allot the extra time, you don't need it. That's really what the, the reality is. But, so we'll wait for about 10 minutes and start again so everybody can take a short break. Thanks.